All right, guys, so this is my monitor lift and lightweight table. The whole idea of what I'm doing here is trying to figure out how to save space in a 1-1 apartment with no room to do much other than have a couch or have a desk or maybe have a dining set. So I didn't want to compromise. So what I did was I made a super lightweight desk that allows me to have enough room on there, but be stable enough to, or sorry, I can fit two people on there, but also be stable enough to have like a workbench and put some of my tools on there and just be able to load it up. I can't have a lot of walking room now that I've used this living room space for the TV. So what I did was I made everything movable and I made my monitors hide away so that I could use the table for other reasons and also be able to enjoy the living space without it looking as though it was designed for something altogether different. So here what I'm showing you is just that there is a functional two monitor station with my, yes, really high set TV. But use it for my electronics, use it for my computer, use it for my recording, for audio pieces, and again, plenty of space to do what I need. Here, what I want to show you is kind of what it looks like when the monitors are down. Plenty of space. The pets love it. And then, of course, I have the desk that I got to figure out what I'm going to do with at that time if I decide to move it away. It doesn't take up too much space if I put it up to the sides, so it fits nicely in other areas. The whole idea here really is to show you the difference of feeling. So you can either get a living room, sitting room area to enjoy the TV and kind of relax, and move the desk either to another room. Again, it's a hollow core desk, so it weighs maybe 10-15 pounds, but the legs are kind of heavy. They are steel. So with that, I got a lightweight desk that is good for entertaining games, puzzles, and gives me a lot of ample room if I want to move it back to the station and do some yoga. Here, my girlfriend was trying to show me some yoga, and I successfully tried. Here we play some yoga, we do working out, we do anything with the available space, games, just having fun and enjoying the area. So doubles up as a workshop if we want to move the table and do some painting. We also can use it for cooking or hosting people. Again, this is a shot on its own. It looks decent. I have a lot of ways that I could decorate it. I think this is like the bland template version, but wanted to show you how things are hidden away. I have monitors here. I have audio equipment. I have games back there. So it looks relatively clean. On this next shot, I'll show you how to put it together. All right, so here it is behind the scenes about how to make this thing. This is overall structure. You can see gable on the right, gable on the left, platform for the monitor itself, and then you can see just using these two studs as a base thing. That's pretty much all you need to know about it. I'll explain the rest here in detail if it's for the people who would like to make this at home. Overall, this was a $120 build for me. A lot of this is scrap materials, scrap wood, scrap pine, scrap 2x4s that I had for other projects. And then some things that I bought were like these metal pieces that I use for the gable. It's just stamped 90-degree metal here for attaching other pieces. It also helped me put on this like prettier scrap gable that I had. And also the Craigslist motor that I got for 20 bucks, which maybe was a steal. It's probably why my cost is so low. But yeah, that was 20 bucks, which is awesome. And then I also, trying to see if I spent any other money. Oh, for the glides, I did buy one glide. It's a cabinet glide that you can see in there. I'll explain in a little bit. And then another one I just had from another project that I stole. So overall, 120 bucks if you're interested. I think it's a relatively simple build, and I can take some of the complication and headaches out for you ahead of time. So some quick things that I'll go over for just overall structure. Some things that I thought were just cheap, quick, easy, and like a great decision. This actually saw in the video that someone else had posted was that you put these metal pieces here. They work really good. So wood itself is very flexible, pliable, depending on what type of density wood you get, but it gets really expensive quickly, whereas you can have cheap stamped metal that will give you a great 90-degree angle and give you things to attach to all along it. So I felt like that was an easy thing to kind of implant into this project, and also allowed me to build around it. So that was one. The second thing that I thought was really critical that I would suggest is having just a pretty solid base here. These two studs let me build off of it and worked wonderful as well. I would probably just do, I could probably do a thinner material. I realized that there's not a lot of load being applied to this. It's just downward force. So probably overkill for what I have here. And I think that's it for framing. And then you see this this thing here that's causing resistance to torsion from the whole thing. So I mean, there's a lot of load actually being applied on here whenever I move these monitors. So this was pretty critical for stability for me. And that's essentially it. I think, yeah. All right, so let me get into kind of what I did here. Up to you how you're gonna use your mechanical energy to kind of push this platform up. I'll go through my transfer of energy really quick. I got a washer machine motor for 20 bucks, threw a gear on it, did a gear ratio of, I think, 1 to 1.75. So I increased my torque, which was necessary. I realized I didn't have enough torque, and the washer machine motor was moving a little too quickly for me anyway. So got enough torque, and it seems to work fine. I'm not gonna go into those calculations. A lot of it was just trial and error anyways. And it'll turn this threaded rod. The gear itself is attached to the threaded rod. The rod spins in free space otherwise. It's just a bearing on the monitor platform, and then there's a bearing in this stud right here. The stud does two things, this one in between the Lazy Susan and the base station. It has the bearing in it, again, to reduce wobble, and additionally, it allows me to raise the monitor just a little bit up off the ground, because the distance that I wanted to travel was a little too low. So then, again, rod is spinning in free space. I locked in the rod with this gear. So now this gear is with a push pin attached to the rod. This gear is also being applied force with this belt. And once this rod turns in free space, things that are gonna interact with the rod is this threaded T-nut. There's one there, and there's a second one there if you can't see. So this is like one thing that I built individually. I did attempt to try this with one threaded T-nut, then two, then three. Two works fine. I think you can get away with one based on how far away your bearings or how much movement you want up and down. However, two actually worked really well. Three worked great, but it's hard to build with wood. If I could do something where I had some machinists just like cut out some pieces for me, that's fine. But when you're drilling by hand, it's already hard to line up two. So put two threaded T-nuts. So when we spin this rod, the T-nuts just take it up, and there's there's force going up onto this platform, and just raises the whole thing up. From this, I think it's also important to note that as you put load onto this platform, there's a couple things that are going to happen. So this is key. I think however you build it, doesn't matter, but this is actually key for whatever type of energy you're using to get this to go up and down. One is there's a lot, since we're using cheap materials, there's a lot of flexibility in this wood. As this wood flexes, you're going to get hang up here, right? So as I know you're using bearings, but you're now pushing your threaded rod up against these bearings, which are going up against the ball bearings, which in theory is supposed to, seriously reduce the friction. However, you're gonna still have issues if I have a 15-degree angle in here, it's really gonna cause problems. And this is flexing quite a bit. So I then doubled the thickness. I tried a couple pieces of board. I tried different locations to keep things not from going off the centroid plane of this plank in this orientation. So for those who followed that, really what I'm trying to do is keep this from torquing down one way or the other. I can't right now too much because just because of what I have locking it in place. But so the two things that happen is, one, you're going to get, which is really interesting, the amount of weight that you put on here is going to cause more flex. And that's where, like, that flexion is causing either some downward force or just resistance to torsion. And then you have more increased load on your whatever is supplying your energy. Same thing here. As you misalign these or they get bent, you're gonna have increased torsion. Same thing here. As this is pushing down from the weight of the bar or the weight of anything that's off angle or off axis is gonna push normal force into here. So that's where this Lazy Susan comes into play. I thought that, I mean, it just made sense, right? You reduce torsion by putting a bearing there. I think that's my solution to everything right now, is just bearings. So that helped tremendously. The other thing that I did was I grabbed these cabinet slides and I mounted them with a L bracket to the platform here for the lift. And I realized it did for a couple of reasons. My one issue was that this plank at the outside had nothing, wasn't attaching to anything. I tried making this bearing wheel that attached to both sides and held onto here, and I was going to use this as a guide. Ended up having to slowly form this so that I wasn't intentionally pushing it one way or the other. And then I tried creating it with a little bit of float. It was just more work than it was worth. So I ended up thinking like, all right, I want something that'll hold it in place to keep it from going back and forth and also resist the torsion based on the density of wood. And that's where I came up with the cabinet glide. So I put a cabinet glide in there and it did what I wanted to do. It now goes straight up and down. These are close to it for no reason, right? I could put sensors here or something to track it, or I could do something with light, or I could do something with a circuit breaker. But this now is pointless other than giving me structure to attach this gable on one side, or yeah, putting whatever additional equipment I want on there. And also for getting that quick 90-degree angle. So with that said, I think you now have the overall structure, the overall cost, what those things are. I can't imagine what else I would like to explain. Just keep an idea of, even this, I think I could have gotten away with having someone machine some metal for me, or just buying a plank of metal or a slab of metal and drilling into it. But it's just faster with wood for me, just based on the fact that I'm in a small apartment trying to do some metal work. The only other like quick cheap thing that I did back here was I added a piece of wood. This is my IKEA, my $2 piece of IKEA wood. And I put these holders for my microphone, my camera, some gaming equipment stuff that I have back there, all my wires. I know the wire coverings aren't great, but it looks good when I have everything in front of it, so I'm not too concerned. It's enough for me. That's all I have. Hopefully that explained everything, and thanks for watching. Okay, what you're hearing there is, I'll show you. So notice how I have a board that I put back here. It was intended to be a stop. I was gonna do a mechanical stop as a safety piece, and also it was gonna be a mount for all my electronics back here, which is for cameras, audio equipment, the monitors. I have some gaming stuff back here, speakers. So it's all pretty well hidden, at least for me. But the positioning is bad. I need to raise it quite a bit. So the resistance that you're hearing there comes from that. But as I go down, I flip the switch. And then I stop like an inch away before I bottom out, just because I don't want it to lock into the gear piece. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed.